What's up, chat? Happy Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. This bang's for you. We've got basketball tonight. We still got baseball. We got baseball going on right now. It's just a glorious time of year where the weather is pretty doggone perfect. You can wake up, have some baseball pretty quickly in your life on the background. Twins going at it with the Brewers right now. You can get some research done. It's just, I love it. I'm a pig in mud right now. It's an amazing time of year. This stream is going to be more catered toward the basketball side of the night. But, hey, you got some baseball thoughts, throw them in chat. I don't know what it is. Ben McLemore just signed with the Lakers. How much help does LeBron need? Oh, man. No Raj today. Raj hit me with the old can't make stream today at gun 2 hours ago. It's all right. We're big boys. We can handle it. Hopefully you guys did all right last night. Russell Westbrook led the entire slate in fantasy points. No shock there. 62 fantasy points. 11-1 against the shorthanded Toronto Raptors. 23 real points on 40 minutes. 14 rebounds. 11 assists. Julius Randle. 61.75 against the Brooklyn Nets. Nets lost James Harden early in that game. He did not touch the court in the second half, creating a boost there for Kyrie Irving, who dropped 40 real-life points. Darius Garland slipped in there as a top 3 play on the slate. Definitely did not have much Garland there. I stayed away from that, but I guess it made sense once Dejounte Murray got rolled out that the San Antonio Spurs already surrender a decent chunk of fantasy points to opposing point guards that, he could slide in there and have a strong game. He dang sure did. Then Luka without Porzingis, 55. Overall, like most of what happened, I was there on. The only thing that really, really got me, and it got me hard, on DraftKings, I played Boban Marjanovic, man. I figured no Kristaps Porzingis. They could use his size. We've seen Boban get some minutes lately in the absence of Porzingis. I know Boban played and started without Porzingis and Kleber, but I thought there would be minutes there for an under 4K Boban against the size of the Gobert. He played 0 minutes. He got none. Zero. So that one stung me quite a bit because I did have a decent reliance on Boban last night on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I was mainly there on Karl-Anthony Towns. I will say overall the Raptors let me down though. I was pretty high on a Raptors 3-4 man stack. I had a bunch of Malachi Flynn. I didn't leave him once DeAndre Bembry was rolled as a starter, but Siakam underwhelmed. OJ Anunoby was one of my higher owned players. He underwhelmed. It was just, and Gary Trent. I think I had Trent as a tier 1 exposure last night, and he was awful. So Raptors really destroyed me while still having a couple plays that you could lean on. Bembry and Flynn. Look out tonight for Fred VanVleet. May not play again, and we might get more of the same in terms of potential fantasy value. And then maybe we goldfish memory it on running back some Raptors exposure, man. How we doing, chat? You guys doing all right today? Shout out to you guys joining up early and often. Desmond in the chat. Dang lazy mofo. Casey Banton says cashed in MLB last night. Quintuple ups. Yerman Mercedes, man. He's a monster right now. We see guys that come up. Mercedes, I believe, is 28 years old. They come up. They start off really hot. Then the league kind of figures them out. Then they have to adjust, and it becomes a game of adjustments. But right now, Yerman's definitely a monster, right? Y'all think the Lakers beat the Raptors? Man, they should, right? What up, Darren? What up, King Sosa? Van Jones? How you feel about Killian Hayes for the min as value on DK GPP? So with Dwayne Casey in charge of the minute rotation, I maybe there's some guys that are going to be out soon. Hayes saw 25 minutes last night. I mean, there's a chip in a chair at his price point, but look at this minute rotation. There's nobody here that saw 30 minutes, so it's really hard to kind of hang your hat on that. You feel like you're giving yourself a glass ceiling due to the minutes, but for value intents and purposes, maybe. I would also say look out for some of these guards to have the night off. We've seen Ham Diallo kind of sit. Maybe he protects a couple people, and we see. I do think Killian Hayes is their future point guard. That's why they went out there and drafted him. But he also had 6 stocks yesterday, 4 steals and 2 blocks in 25 minutes. Seems a little bit on this ceiling side of things. So we'll see. We'll get there. But the minutes overall on the Casey's rotation scares me. Yeah, no. You play Boban or something. VanVleet's out. Okay, lit. Boban really destroyed me on DraftKings. It's on me. If Boban doesn't start, I should know that that's a range of outcome. Yep. What up, Solo? What up, Crispy? Jumped off to Malachi Flynn for Terrence Davis. Oof. I definitely stuck with Flynn. I will say I did not get to Bembry. Bembry just has not been efficient per minute on the season for fantasy. So I was just like, in this house, we don't play DeAndre Bembry. He ended up being one of the better plays on the slate and definitely on the Raptors. So maybe tonight I'll have to forgive and forget and go play some Bembry. Should he draw the start again without Fred VanVleet? Yeah, no. How we doing though? You guys doing all right today? You guys vibing? You guys make it out alive last night? The James Harden getting hurt thing definitely impacted a lot. The Raptors stack was pretty trendy. Them flopping the way they did definitely impacted a lot. So pretty unfortunate set of circumstances there if you did have some Harden. Definitely, like I said, I cored around the Pistons. Cored around the Raptors. Also cored around the Kings game. That was a little bit more of what I expected. I will say the T-Wolves kind of okey-doked us. When I was on the air, I didn't expect D'Angelo Russell or Ricky Rubio to play. And not only did they play 24 and 27 minutes respectively, but D-Russ was a massive play. And that ate away from the potential ceiling of Anthony Edwards, who almost got there anyway. So that did change a lot of my early intentions yesterday. So Gurr at the Kings for that happening, but De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield, those were my three highest owned Kings. Did enough for me to be happy with that. So kind of a mixed results there. I did better on FanDuel than DraftKings, but that's because I did not have Boban on FanDuel. What up, Mundos World? You doing all right today? Shout out to you guys. No rocks today, so you guys keep me honest and keep me updated when news drops. Spam the chat, man. I'll react accordingly. Fantasy Labs usually hits us with a 3 p.m. Tweet for key news to watch. So let's see if they are on schedule today, and if so, it'll kind of keep us spectrumized. Yep, here we go. Zion questionable, Brandon Ingram questionable, Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis questionable, Jamal Murray questionable, Giannis Antetokounmpo probable, Andre Drummond and Patrick Beverley questionable. Somebody said that VanVleet was already ruled out. I think I missed that. Well, let me scroll down and see if I could find it. I would definitely love to know that for sure. I don't have him projected for minutes right now. And that's what I did yesterday. Okay, ruled out. All right, cool. And then Fournier out. So, all right, so we're pretty much good to go. The only thing I do have to tweak here in the spreadsheet here is to put, I guess we'll put Bembry as the starting point guard to parody what we saw yesterday. We'll put Bembry up the top there. We'll take him out here. And we should be vibing and ready to go. So we're going to go game by game here. You guys know the drill. This stream brought to you by PrizePicks.com today. If you guys want to try a free week of RunDFS.com VIP, partnered with them not only to take advantage of the great deal that we already have through the stream, through the brand here. If you guys sign up on PrizePicks using code GUNDACKER, they're going to instantly double your first deposit up to $100. But if you sign up this week using code GUNDACKER, you'll get a free week of RunDFS.com VIP, including access to the NBA and MLB spreadsheets, projections, player pools, the 24/7 RunDFS.com VIP Discord. If you're already a sub, you can extend a week for free if you sign up using code GUNDACKER at PrizePicks.com. I do have a PrizePicks tab in the NBA spreadsheets called the player props tab. All the projected points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made, PRA, and fantasy points because you can bet that on PrizePicks as well. So check that out. They will turn your $10 into $20, $100 into $200, and good way to support the stream, support the site, and for this week, get something in return, man. I love PrizePicks. It's so much fun. Anyway, let's jump into today's slate. We're going to use the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet throughout the duration of this one and go game by game and try to find our favorite plays and spins as we await more news and notes for this one. We got a regular lock time of 7 p.m. Eastern. Just one game at lock today. Yesterday we saw all but one game lock at 7. I think it was kind of in respect to the national championship. Shout out to Baylor. But today just the Bulls and the Pacers at lock. And I saw Super Draft is going to lock at 7:30. So if you guys playing a Super Draft, keep that in mind. Bulls project starting 5: Tomas Satoransky, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Thaddeus Young, and Nikola Vucevic taking on Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, Justin Holiday, Dougie McBuckets, Doug McDermott and Miles Turner. We got a 227 total and a 1-point spread in favor of the Chicago Bulls. Like we said, we do have some Q tags here, Brogdon and Sabonis. So I'm leaning Sabonis closer to out since that's kind of what we went off last game. But I'm going to go ahead and be diligent here, and let's go get the official news and notes from the injury report. Malcolm Brogdon questionable with a hip, participated in Monday's practice. He missed the past 2 games. Also, Jeremy Lamb listed with a toe, participated in the practice as well. He missed the last 3 games. Both of them practicing. It's a good sign for them in their availability in this game. Domantas Sabonis is dealing with a ankle. He did not participate in Monday's practice. He did do some light shooting and iced his ankle afterward, so it's not a great sign regarding his status for this one. So that's why right now in the spreadsheet I have Malcolm Brogdon projected in with Sabonis kind of out. A 227 total, kind of a really tight spread here. If there's no Sabonis and Brogdon's in, I think under 7K on both sides is right there enough for taking some shots on Caris LeVert as well. And then Miles Turner becomes interesting without Sabonis. I guess it would be appropriate to maybe go run an on-off court tool here because Sabonis is such a high-impact player representing a lot of minutes and a lot of usage for the Pacers. We'll take him off, and I guess we'll put, I don't know, LeVert and Brogdon on. And I guess Turner, but let's just put LeVert and Brogdon on because I am very curious about the correlation between LeVert and Brogdon as we get more and more sample size day to day, with LeVert being thrown into the mix just recently. So Caris LeVert, Malcolm Brogdon on, Domantas Sabonis off. We'll run that using the on-off court tool from Fantasy Labs. No sample size here, just 10 minutes. That's not enough. I can't really go off of that. So it's not even worth reading, but in the short sample size, Brogdon with over 30%. So not enough to go off of and bet the farm on. I just think minutes-wise and usage-wise, I think it's appropriate to assume Brogdon and LeVert have to do some heavy lifting here. LeVert's 8K price point on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. I'm really looking for the north side of 40 fantasy points. It's doable, it's viable, but I'm not really running to it. I do like centers against the Pacers on the season. Has been a soft matchup. Vucevic, if I can get 30 minutes out of him, he does have a chip in a chair for 40, 50 fantasy points as a window. Not really getting a great bargain at that price point, so I'd probably take that thought, start him as a tier 3, and work from there. Same with Levine. Levine, I do think at 7,200 at FanDuel is a little bit more intriguing. But again, I don't feel like I'm getting a massive deal at anyone on their price point individually. Maybe a Thad Young revenge game or something like that. But I think everyone's appropriately priced. So I'll probably put players in this game in the pool, but I'm not going to put anyone above the tier 2, and I think I start everyone off as a tier 3 for now, based on some of the other games on the slate that I'll be higher on. But Brogdon at under 7K probably has a high enough floor at 35 plus fantasy points. Should he be good to go fully, that'll be a buyer on. If for some reason Brogdon didn't play, it would be a major boost for TJ McConnell, major boost for Caris LeVert, especially if Sabonis also sits this one out. And then potential value shot here on Doug McDermott if we lean towards Sabonis being out. I got 30 minutes on him. Maybe 30 minutes at 4,200 is enough to go ahead and get me to that 25 fantasy point area that I would take at that price point. And the Bulls actually have been guarding the 3 ball pretty well this season. They give up the most of their points in the paint. I do think Vucevic might shake that up just a little bit, but Miles Turner without Sabonis definitely worth monitoring. If I take the LeVert off here and just leave Brogdon on, Sabonis off, it'll include Miles Turner in the mix as well. 157 minutes sample size here. He has a 26% usage rate, over a fantasy point per minute, and the rebound rate goes to 16%. So not incredible, but not bad. Easily leading the team in rebound rate, and I do think against the Bulls, at 6,200, 30 plus fantasy points is well within the realm of possibility. And if we look at that last game without Domantas Sabonis, I think Brogdon was out as well. So it's not super fair, but with that last game without Sabonis, 35 fantasy points, 18 real points, just 7 rebounds, but 4 blocks. Blocks are kind of his MO. The Bulls don't give up an egregious amount of blocks per game, but Miles Turner at 6,200, potentially without Sabonis, lots of minutes there for me to kind of trust and believe in him. Desmond says, I like the Turner play, but he gets up there and fouls nearly every game, plus I can see him getting foul trouble versus Vucevic. Very true. Block-heavy guys can turn into fouls. Maybe we'll run a history here. Miles Turner, DK. That's not fair because Sabonis changes everything. Like, we're not playing Turner if Sabonis was in, right? I guess Vucevic would be the one to look up, but that's also not fair because Vucevic coming from a high usage spot. Last 5 games for centers against the Pacers. Jakob Poeltl just dropped 45 fantasy points in 40 minutes. Bam Adebayo dropped 41 in 35 minutes. Porzingis dropped 62 in 38 minutes. So in between there's like a Biyombo, Alex Lamb. We're not really going to overreact to those two guys. So I'm fine with Vucevic. I just think the price points on Vuce, if he drops 45, it's cool. It's an average play. It's nothing crazy. Nothing I wouldn't take, but nothing I think I lose it. Like I can't. Like, if he drops 45, I don't have it. I don't feel like I can't win a tournament because of that. You know what I'm saying? Is it a revenge game for McDermott, too? Sure. They've all been around the league, right? Yo, do the Raptors win? Do the Raptors win tonight? I don't know that I would bet the Raptors, considering how short they might be. Looks like Fred VanVleet out. It's a back-to-back. I wouldn't bet it. They could win. I wouldn't bet it, though. Pelicans at the Atlanta Hawks. Project starting 5 for the Pelicans: Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Stone Cold Steven Adams going to get one board. What? Taking on Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Kevin Huerter, Solomon Hill, Clint Capella. We got a 228.5 total. 3.5 point spread in favor of the visiting Atlanta Hawks. The Pelicans have a couple names still on the Q tag. We've seen some weird games out of them lately. Go ahead and grab the latest news from them. Kira Lewis is listed as doubtful. Nickel Alexander-Walker listed as out. And then Brandon Ingram, Zion, the two most impactful names on this list. Ingram's dealing with a sore right foot. He was rolled out 90 minutes before tip-off on Sunday, so it seems like he's close to returning, and maybe Tuesday will be it. If he sits along with Zion Williamson, James Johnson will be somebody to target. Zion Williamson listed as questionable, as well as Ingram. He's dealing with a sprained left thumb. He has missed 3 games now with the injury. He could come back here, so that would be very slate-shaping information on the Pelican side of things if Ingram and or Zion were not to make this one, especially one or the other, and if like Ingram was in, Zion was out, and vice versa, it would just make the other one strong. And then Lonzo Ball becomes an uncomfortable name to pay $7,500 for. But if not both of those guys are out, considering the fact that Kira Lewis is down, NAW is down, we could have really deep minutes on Zion, Lonzo here, and he just had a massive game in his last time out. So I like him coming off long rest, coming into a game against a really porous guard defense. 37 minutes in that last outing, picking up where he left off, 38, 35 minutes in the 2 games prior to that couple week stretch, 27 real points, 52 fantasy points, just stuff in the stat sheet. So 7,500 might feel historically an uncomfortable price to pay for Lonzo, but I would say if Zion's out, I'd take some shots at it, and if both of those guys are out again, I'd be right there on Lonzo. Considering the total pushing 230, considering how porous both teams are on defense, I'd be there on Lonzo Ball for sure. And then James Johnson's kind of promoted himself to a different price point, 5,800, 5,200. Kind of a hard to love price point on him, 30 being probably the range of the median range of outcome that I would want to pay that price point, so I'm not running to that. Isaiah Thomas is 5-1 on DraftKings, so you don't even get to play the cute play there. Maybe 3,900 on FanDuel is a little bit softer, but I don't know if I'm running to that. Isaiah Thomas does have the narrative, right, and playing some inspired basketball, 10-day contract, trying to get a gig down the stretch. So for sure, we can have fun with that. But Lonzo is definitely somebody I'm keeping my eye on. And if Zion did play, he's almost 10K on FanDuel. I need that 50-plus fantasy points, 9K on DraftKings, kind of the same thing. But against the Atlanta Hawks, especially without John Collins, I definitely think that's a very viable a range of outcome. The Hawks have struggled at defending points in the paint. Zion's going to get a lot of his points driving to the rack. So I definitely would put him in the mix. But again, don't feel like I'm getting a premium discount at the price point on Zion. And then he would make Lonzo a lot harder to love and play. On the Hawks side, without John Collins, they'll also be without Chris Dunn, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. Should expect another deep minute game for Trae Young, 8,500 on FanDuel. Definitely a chip in a chair for 50 fantasy points. Bogdan Bogdan Bogdanovic at 7K feels really, really rough to get to. I guess it's a loose range of outcome, but probably so low on the percentage that it would hit that I'm probably going to be really, really down on 7,200 Bogdan. 6,200 on DraftKings, I have a little bit more exposure to that. Lou Williams, Danilo Gallinari, both guys that, spin the wheel, make a deal. I'm not going to prioritize them. Maybe I start them as a tier 3. Gallo still has a case as long as John Collins is out, that maybe he's going to get enough minutes as a 4 that I could buy into. If we go run that on-off court tool, I think it's very appropriate for this scenario. We go take off John Collins, and I want to put on Capella and Trae Young. So John Collins off, and then Trae Young and Clint Capella. Trae Young, Capella, Ella, A. So I didn't take off the other guys that are out, the Reddish, the Hunters. I just want to see the point guard center correlation bump here, and it looks like we got a 37% usage rate here on Trae Young, 18% on Clint Capella. Both these guys over a fantasy point per minute, and Capella's at a 25% rebound rate. That's impactful, especially if we had a Zion out or something like that. Train's here, by the way. And maybe you go out there and attack some rebound props. He's averaging 14 rebounds a game, so I don't imagine you're going to get a comfortable rebound prop as it is. But 8,600 on DraftKings, I think that might be a little on the soft side for a guy that probably has 50-plus fantasy point potential. New Orleans does allow a block here and there, and Capella can get those blocks, averaging over 2 blocks per game. So maybe on FanDuel is a little bit more lucrative, but he's $1,300 more on FanDuel than his DraftKings counterpart. But without John Collins, I'd be a buyer in him as well. Definitely could see a stack of this game coming through. Wouldn't shock me if a Kevin Huerter dripped through for a solid game. Lou Williams, Gallo, guys like that. But Trae Young, Clint Capella would be my 1-2 here, and the Pelicans would be pretty contingent on the news. If there's no Zion, I'd pay that price on Lonzo. If that makes me different, that makes me different. And then Ingram, of course, has a shot at 40 fantasy points as well. See what you guys got on this game for me. Triple eight on to the next one. Andy Saturansky. Early on, I probably don't, but I wouldn't push back on that. Can't believe the Raptors won with a Gary Trent buzzer beater. That was a beautiful play. I know that bank shot in the college game the other night was sexy, but that one was pure skill. Meet me outside. Unfortunately, you didn't get 30 fantasy points for that play, and I had him as a tier 1. And he wasn't a fantastic fantasy play, but from a real life basketball standpoint, that was the epitome of calling game, right? Isaiah Thomas debut. Yeah, hopefully Isaiah does well. I like Isaiah Thomas, right? He's the against all odds story, even in Boston. He just kind of gets pushed around. So I would like to see him do well. Obviously, I don't think the Pelicans have a giant future this season, and I don't think long term his answers with the Pelicans, but hopefully he makes a big enough impression that some team maybe looks at him down the stretch. All right, Sixers at the Celtics. Next game on the docket. Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid project starting 5 for the Sixers. Up against Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Robert Williams, the Time Lord. We got a 2-2-2 and another 1-2 as our total, and a 2-point spread from the Department of Redundancy department. This is one of those meager total kind of games. Two teams that might meet up deep into the playoffs. I do think there's some interesting price points on the Celtics side. Kemba Walker being at 6'6" in an important game. I could see him showing up and showing out. There is no Evan Fournier here. We're going to open up those minutes again. That's going to elongate on Smart. I got him at 34 minutes. I got 34 minutes on Jaylen Brown as well. So I do think, low-key, this might be one of those on paper grindier games that you're not comfortable, but I think it should go down to the wire. I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched, and this is a test for both teams and coaches on what they might be doing in the postseason if they meet up, let's say in the Eastern Conference Finals or something like that. So everyone's in play. I think it's a stackable game. Again, I don't think there's any price point that's egregious. Obviously, Joel Embiid, you got to go all the way up there and get him at 10-8, 10-2, which should lead the team in usage, maybe get you 50 fantasy points. If you can find a value play to offset that and just use it as a raw points play, sure. Maybe Tobias Harris is a little less comfortable at 8K with Embiid. He doesn't really smash 40 plus on a common range of outcomes. Ben Simmons kind of the same case. I think 7,400 Ben Simmons is a little bit more comfortable than 8,500. Again, probably not a priority, but I think they're in play for me. And on the Celtics side, I think the Celtics profile a little bit better, because I'll play some Kemba at 6'6", and even Marcus Smart in these scrappier games, he tends to show up, make some more defensive plays, and on FanDuel, those extra blocks and steals will play a little harder, a little longer. So Brown versus I'm curious here. Maybe this is worth the stat muse. Let's go run Joel Embiid, DKP by game log versus Celtics. Let's go last 10 games on this one. And then also run it back with Jason Tatum. So 58 DraftKings points against the Celtics on January 22nd. That's earlier this season. 58, 60, 52. A really solid 50-plus fantasy point shot. That 20.8 came in 23 minutes. I'd imagine, obviously there's an underlying reason there. He didn't get those minutes. And then another 23-minute game where he dropped 43. So the 2 games where he doesn't get you 50 fantasy points were under 24 minutes or under 26 minutes. So I think Joel Embiid profiles this a super solid play, so maybe he's more of a cash game, single entry centric kind of player in this spot. And then out of curiosity, maybe we run it back. Can I just open up that last game log and maybe look at both sides? I'm curious to see how Tatum has performed as a run back option here, going against like Tobias Harris, right? So if I pull up the player stats from this one, we had Smart, Brown, Kemba, TT, and Grant Williams as your starting. So Tatum didn't play that game. And then Jaylen Brown dropped 42 real points. Intriguing. And then, of course, we know TT, Grant Williams, Daniel Tice, guys like that, Jeff Teague, not there. So maybe not something I want to overreact to, but I do think just points for, from a game standpoint, I'm throwing a net over this game a few times in Mass Century. But Joel Embiid, I'll take the shot at 50 at 10-2 on DraftKings. If you give me that shot at 50 fantasy points, I'll see what that can do for me at the end of the night, because I do think there's going to be enough value plays. And then Kemba Walker's the other guy that's pretty interesting to me. And then even more so in a close game where you got to make a statement here in Boston, who have opened the doors for some limited capacity. Last couple games for Kemba, 26 minutes against Charlotte. It was a blowout, 26 fantasy points, so a point per minute or greater. And that's kind of been the theme of his game log. Very, very rarely is he giving you less than a point per minute. It's just 30 plus as far as the eye can see if he gets to 30 minutes. So 6'6" is probably a little too soft considering the likely minute projection we could put on him today, right? Solo says Okongwu from Atlanta with no Collins. I mean, maybe. I have Solomon Hill right now. I don't want to play either one of them, but I have Solomon Hill. And him being a center only is really unfortunate, because I don't really feel like I want to give up the center spot if I can help it. Clearly, he has over a point per minute potential. So if you can get those minutes to a decent spot and feel great about it, sure. Dropped 27 against the Pelicans last time. Collins has been out for a little chunk, right? Let me see, against Golden State. I'm going to see if he's been getting meaningful minutes. So let me check the popcorn machine on that one. Yeah, no Collins in this one. Okongwu got 15 minutes. I mean, just like, I don't think I can safely get him to like a projection that would make me happy, because I do think they have bigs. They could stretch out Gallo. Obviously, they have Capella, Solomon Hill. He's a chip. He's literally a chip in a chair super punt, and that's, if you play him, understand that's a punt. A punt's a punt for a reason. But there's not really anything exceptional going for him right now for me to be overzealous or overambitious with playing him. Let's move on to the next game here. Raptors hosting the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers project starting 5. Dennis Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Markieff Morris, and Andre the Giant Drummond taking on DeAndre Bembry, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Chris Boucher. Drummond is sitting at 5,200 on FanDuel, 6,500 on DraftKings. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all he did was rip off a toenail, right? And going into that game where he ripped off the toenail, they had specifically announced that he would not be on a minutes limit. So I guess, you could argue with Marc Gasol and like Montrezl Harrell in the mix. Like, maybe there's like not enough minutes to go around. But it seemed like that day the idea was that Drummond was going to be the starter with no minutes restriction, and then he got hurt and in foul trouble. So right now I was pretty conservative with his minute projection. I put him at 20 basically. But I would contest that maybe there's a world where that 20 could be 25, 28, unless they completely do a triple split between him and like Marc Gasol. But it seemed like that night they were pretty adamant about announcing that there wasn't a restriction, and I haven't seen verbiage. I could have missed it, but I haven't seen verbiage about a restriction here. It was just a toenail. So if that's the case, I do think Drummond could be an extremely lucrative play at this price point, going against a porous Toronto Raptors defense that has sorely struggled on the rebounding side of things. Just a 20% offensive rebound rate and a 75.8% defensive rebound rate. So kind of something I'll be looking out for as we get closer to lock is more verbiage and more notes and expectations on what we might expect Andre Drummond to be tonight if he plays. Matchup-wise, the Raptors look like they could be without Van Vliet again. He was ruled out, so that's going to give us a lineup that we saw last night. DeAndre Bembry, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Chris Boucher. There is a world where Malachi Flynn could start. I still think no matter what, Flynn's going to get a solid shot at 30 minutes, and 30 minutes on DraftKings at under 4K. Probably is going to be a core value play for me. 5-1 on FanDuel. You can argue against that. Bembry's also $200 above min price on FanDuel. And at 3K, being bare bones min after last night, he'll likely be the highest, if not one of the highest owned players on the slate, considering he's the lowest risk, highest reward option after doing what he did last night. If you consider that, Bembry long-term this season has not been that efficient fantasy-wise game to game, and that Gary Trent Jr. and Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby to an extent all underperformed. If you expect the other three to perform better today, maybe that eats away from Bembry here, and maybe that's a route to be a little bit less than bullish on Bembry's ownership exposure in your own lineups, but that's just going to be one of the hardest decisions to make, and I don't want to be the one that makes that for you, because bare bones min price on DraftKings, likely a shot at 30 minutes. It's like the opportunity cost is just way too low. On the Lakers side, if Drummond's in, I don't feel like I'm getting a fantastic deal on Schroeder and Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. Like, all these guys are kind of priced to the gills. Here and there, if you one off one guy here and there, sure. I probably don't get to like a stack or anything like that unless Drummond was out, and then I could feel a little bit better, because the Raptors do are porous on defense, but overall this total is pretty low, 208.5 total. Lakers right now favorited by just one here. So I don't mind going back to the Raptors that let me down yesterday. Probably I have to be a little less bullish. 8K for Anunoby on FanDuel seems really up there. He is a peripheral guy. If the peripherals aren't there, I'm not banking on 20 plus real points more often than not. But Siakam's the guy I think without Van Vliet, without Lowry, should lead the team. And then guys like Boucher are chipping a chair for 30 plus fantasy points. I think I'm leaning on the guards more often than not. The Bembry, the Lynn, and I'll go the Flynn, and I'll go right back to Gary Trent Jr. and hope for a little bit better of a fantasy point night, and maybe that walk-off shot will give him some confidence going into today's game. Yesterday he took 15 shot attempts, hit at a decent clip. It just, that was it. It was not enough to kind of get us over to a solid fantasy value, and the peripherals were pretty minimum, just 2 boards, 2 assists. So you would like to see 20 plus real points probably to get what we need from him, but the shot volume is still pretty strong, and if he fell into a couple more peripherals, he's in the mix for me. I'm probably going to tier 2 Trent tonight, though. The only reason I had him tier 1 yesterday, I just thought the Wizards' defense and pace was just too much to walk away from. But overall, this game should be much more neutral to low in pace, and the total is pretty low, so I don't have to prioritize much here. Let's see what you guys got before we move on. Jim says, "Hey Gun, what first tier stack would you play for this slate tonight on basketball stack?" I like the idea of a Warrior stack, I guess, at first glance. And then maybe a Blazer stack, considering Canada gives you like a little cheap stuff. But I'm probably not, like, I don't really go into a basketball slate looking for teams to stack. If it happens organically, it happens. But that's more of a baseball mindset, right? Unless that's what you meant. Any interest in Baines? No. It's just too inconsistent in minutes. Like, we'll see Boucher start and then Baines start the second half and vice versa. I'm staying away from it for now. Let's move on to the next game here. Memphis Grizzlies at the Miami Heat. Project starting five for the Grizzlies: John Morant, Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, Kyle. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets? Jonas Valanciunas taking on Victor Oladipo, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy G, Buckets, Trevor Ariza, Bam Adebayo. 216s are total, 5.5 point spread in favor of the Miami Heat. Another slow-paced game. Grizzlies, you guys kind of know my thoughts on them. They're a team that I only have one guy projected at over 30 minutes, so I kind of get a glass ceiling on what I might expect. Ultimately, the matchup isn't pristine. I do think that we're going to start seeing the Heat start increasing their defensive efficiency with Depot in the mix, with Butler. Ariza is kind of out there as a 3-and-D guy, Adebayo. I think we're going to start seeing their numbers get better. And on the Grizzlies side, like outside of Morant, there's really not a whole lot to sink my teeth in for minutes-wise. You can always ship in a chair of J-Val for 40, 50 fantasy points if he's on, but for the most part, I'm going to lean towards the Heat side of this game. I think Jimmy Butler at 9K on both sides has a shot at 50. I'd probably start him as a tier 3 because I think it's a little bit more volatile now that Depot's here, and other guys at that price range like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Steph Curry, like those kind of guys in that price range today are probably the priority for me. And then Victor Oladipo is intriguing, but I think as long as he's over 7K, he's kind of like the Karis LeVert if they're full strength on the Pacers. You don't know how consistent he's going to be from a fantasy perspective. We've seen Depot pretty much take a backseat in fantasy on full stack teams. So I'm kind of expecting that to be kind of the case here, where he focused a little bit more on defense. He did take double-digit shot attempts against the Cavs. He just didn't hit at a decent click. So maybe if he was a 10 to 15 shot attempt kind of guy and peripheraled his way into a 40 fantasy points, maybe he ends up being like a 6'5" player, and I start thinking about him. But right now, I'm probably going to be a little more skittish than confident on touching him. So give me just Jimmy Butler for now. Grizzlies do struggle against the three. They're giving up 40.6 points per game via the three ball. And if we look at the overall league rankings, I know the Heat give up a lot of points via the three ball as well. But overall, the Grizzlies are bottom 6, 7 in terms of points allowed via the three ball. So maybe Duncan Robinson gets hot, but that's just like a long shot, obscure play. Miami, of course, giving up the second most. But again, I kind of feel like that's going to regress positively for them, adding Depot, adding Ariza. And there's really not like a 3-point sharpshooter other than like Dylan Brooks that I would really kind of transfer that to matchup to. And I just don't have a high level of confidence at that price point. He probably needs 20 plus real points to give me a case. So a couple of Heat shares for me. I'm not really doing much with the Grizzlies. What's up, Josh? Ariza, decent value. 4.641. I think the minutes will be there. Like the matchup's fine, but again, kind of a 3-and-D guy. You're not expecting to do much, but chalk when they find him. So him and like Duncan Robinson probably sitting on the corners waiting for threes. He took 9 shot attempts against Cleveland, 8 of them were for 3, just filling in what we expect him to. So I maybe value in terms of like floor value. Like could he get you 18 to 25 as a range of outcomes? Yeah, but like 18 probably is not going to make any damage in tournaments at the price point, either price point. So you really need like a 30 bomb at this price point to be noisy and impactful in tournaments. And I just don't feel like that's a common range of outcomes. So I'm probably staying away from that unless we get some guys get ruled out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Duncan's better on the road though. Come on, man. We doing home road splits for road players? Come on, bro. What are we doing here? Maybe. Duncan's another one of those guys that get hot from but he's going to have to be fed. And I think it's possible. I think Depot and Butler can start stretching the court a little bit more, but those guys are like the JJ Redicks, the Joe Harrises, like they're going to be more scoring dependent than anything. And so the days that you miss out on them getting 30 real points, you miss out on it. But long term, like they usually don't offer enough peripherals to lean on them aggressively. You Pistons and the Nuggets. Next game on the docket. We can project starting five for the Pistons. Saban Lee, Josh Jackson, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee taking on Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. and Nikola Jokic. We got a 214 total, 12.5 point spread in favor of the home team Denver Nuggets. So Pistons night two for back-to-back going into the altitude. Definitely one of the harder things to do in all of basketball. And the Denver Nuggets, when adding Aaron Gordon, have been pretty solid. And early on, I think there's a lot of speculation that Aaron Gordon's addition is really hurting Jokic's production and his fantasy value. I think maybe it's a little too soon to believe that as fact, but it obviously is sensible to assume as such. Jamal Murray is questionable for this one. If Murray is out, I definitely think that shakes things up a little bit more to maybe start taking a deeper look at Jokic. But so far in 137 minutes of Aaron Gordon and Jokic on the court together, Jokic has a 23% usage rate with a 34% assist rate and just under a fantasy point per minute. So we take Gordon off the court, that 23% usage. We take Aaron Gordon off the court with Jokic on, and the usage is at 29%. So far, in less than about 150 minutes of sample size, that usage has dropped 6-7%. So it is logistical to assume that could be a problem going forward. And if that is, maybe Jokic should not be 10-6, but maybe 9-8, 9-5. Matchup is just fine for him against the Pistons. Mason Plumlee did not play last night, so it'll be fresher leg today going against his former team, the Denver Nuggets. He's kind of cheap on both sides. Maybe he plays some inspired basketball, but there's definitely a lot of game theory and guessing to be done still on this Nuggets team in terms of how they play as a team in terms of usage, fantasy points per minute, and who does what. Right now, if everyone's in with a double-digit spread, like if everyone's in, the Murray, Gordon, MPJ, at Jokic at these prices, other than Gordon, I don't really feel like I'm getting a fantastic deal. Maybe Will Barton, but it just seems like I can live with staying away unless we got a Murray ruled out and the spread tightened up a little bit. It's just a really rough spot for the Pistons, and nothing has come out yet for the Pistons, but I wouldn't be shocked if we start seeing some guys get ruled out for the Pistons, like a Ham Diallo, some of these back-to-back guys that maybe they start gauging some load management, you know what I'm saying? Some tank management, rather. If Murray is out, who do you like more, Gordon or MPJ? I mean, we did see Gordon play some point guard in Orlando, but I still think they'd probably lean on Monte Morris, Campazzo, even Will Barton could bring the ball up court, but Jokic will probably get the biggest boost there. So I don't know that one or the other on Gordon or MPJ. Probably Gordon just because he's cheaper on DraftKings if this is more of a DraftKings question. But I just really don't think I can solidly give you that. There's just not a sample size. So, yeah. I think they have enough actual true point guards there to fill in the holes there, and then you start thinking about how much Monte Morris you would play versus a Bembry versus a Malachi Flynn. But yeah, I don't know that I could do anything but a coin flip between Gordon and Porter if they're the same price. Gordon to run some point guard. Has Mike Malone suggested that? I definitely think it's possible because he was doing that in Orlando, but I didn't know if Orlando was doing that more as a victim of circumstances, losing guys like Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz and their whole point guard rotation. So if Mike Malone suggested that, then hey, that's something to look forward to. I definitely think if Murray, right now I got Murray listed as questionable. Let me see what the issue is. The idea that I'm thinking now is if there's anything wrong with Jamal Murray and you're a double-digit favorite at home against a weak Pistons team, you probably should be a little bit more cautious than anything. So maybe you guys start deciding now what you would do if Murray's out. He's dealing with right knee soreness. He wore a wrap on his knee prior to Tuesday's game versus the Magic, and he finished that game with 22-5-4, a pair of steals. Monte Morris and Campazzo would benefit if Murray can't suit up. So, if you are a believer in load management, if you're coaching this team and you think you should put away the Pistons without Jamal Murray, maybe you just sit him just to sit him. But again, that's just me kind of thinking out loud, not necessarily going off of anything that's in existence, just observing the circumstances, right? The Pistons side, there's been several questions about some of these value guys on the Pistons. Much like the Grizzlies, I don't have much here projected at over 30 fantasy points. There's a couple of revenge guys in here if you're really into that, but for the most part, the back-to-back into the altitude is just such a tough task for any team, and then you put that task, parlayed it with the fact that right now I got like an 11-man rotation of guys projected at double-digit minutes. It's just not a spot I want to be swimming around in. So for that reason, I'm out unless we get some guys rolled out here. Let's move on to the next game here. Bucks at the Golden State Warriors. This is a 10 p.m. Eastern game. This and the Blazers game is going to be your late night hammer selection. Project starting five for the Bucks: Drew Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez up against Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Kelly Oubre, Draymond Green, James Wiseman. Wiseman, what the freak? Wiseman. 237.5 our total, 6.5 point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm assuming that this is a TV game, but that's just an assumption. It's a Tuesday night. It's just like the second game on TNT's doubleheader. Chat, somebody can help me out. I don't want to try to look it up, but I don't want it to like freeze. I'm assuming that this is like a game that, it is. It's the second game on TNT doubleheader. First game, by the way, is the Celtics and the Sixers. So not a bad little tandem of games to watch for real life, right? If baseball wasn't on, I might be checking that. I might have it on the second screen anyway. Nice little selection there. It's not like a dumpster game, you know? Primetime narrative there. Drew Holiday's has been on a tear. Giannis Antetokounmpo looks like he's going to be ready to go for this one. And then Steph Curry, under 10K on both sides. I mean, this should be a track meet. It should be teams chucking threes, and it should be teams trying to score. If the Bucks can, if they let the Warriors stick around here, I think the Steph Curry, sky's the limit on him. And he's probably underpriced for the extra possessions and the extra responsibility that he's going to have to keep his team close in this one. 9,700. I need 50 plus fantasy points, but definitely a spot where I could kind of see it. 28 minutes against Milwaukee last time, 35 fantasy points. I'm assuming that game didn't stay particularly close, but that's the caveat. That's the fire we're playing with here. Can the Warriors help Curry and keep this game close? Steph Curry, DKP by game log versus Bucks. Last 10 games. See how it's done. I know Drew Holiday's a caveat here. I'm not going to look up Steph Curry versus the Pelicans because I don't think that's fair. But Steph Curry against the Bucks last couple games here. I got 35, 39, 19, 44. He hasn't dropped over 50 fantasy points against Milwaukee since 2015. That's definitely something to note. Didn't play him in 2019. There's only one game since then, and I'm assuming that was the Christmas game. I'm assuming that was a little lopsided. We'll check out the minutes makeup for that one. Was Draymond a factor? Was both Oubre and Wiggins in there? 138 to 99. So it was a 40-point spank job. Player stats: Curry, Wiseman, Pascal, Wiggins, and Oubre. So Draymond didn't play that game. You know, maybe Draymond's the X factor. I don't know about that one. And then on the Milwaukee side, looks like they were full strength. So Giannis 15, 13, 4. Yeah. All right. So a little bit of revenge here. Maybe they circled that one, getting this one back in Oracle. 6.5 point spread. Chat, what are you thinking? Did the Bucks smoke the Warriors? Can the Warriors keep it close? Bucks a little bit of road fatigue here, maybe. Giannis has been kind of rested up. Drew Holiday's just hit a whole nother gear lately, though. I think it's not necessarily Steph that I'm worried about. It's the rest of the team that I'm worried about. I'm worried about Wiggins and Oubre picking up their share of the slack here. So if you think this game stays close, I think Steph Curry is the only way it stays close. And he's probably going to have to drop 30, 40 real points. But if he doesn't get the help here, this game could get lopsided pretty quickly. Another statement game here for the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo 11-2 on FanDuel, 10-7 on DraftKings. One of the many guys on here that we can project at like a 50, 60 fantasy point floor. I got him at 57.9 FanDuel points, almost 59 DraftKings points. So yeah, if you can test him versus like Embiid up there in the 10K range, Giannis probably has a higher floor day to day, but Embiid, we looked him up. Any game with near 30 minutes has been 50 plus fantasy points for him. So interesting 1v1 there if you can't get them both. And then elsewhere on the Bucks, I think Drew Holiday's kind of got to an uncomfortable price point. Like 9K with Giannis seems a little rough to get to. Middleton, I think there is meat on the bone historically. I think like 40 fantasy points not outside the range of outcomes. And then Dante DiVincenzo, uncomfortable click. Can I get a 25, 35 floor ceiling range of outcomes? Sure. Probably not dabbling too much with the bench here, and the Warriors are really just what you think might happen. I think in multi-entry, I just have to play the different ranges of outcomes on that one, you know? You know, we in tank mode now. You think so? Can't stop fouling and turn it over. Yeah. Curry versus Giannis, maybe some Draymond. I think Draymond's the key. As weird as that sounds, right? Draymond not being part of that last game, we've definitely seen. I mean, we can run the metrics here just so we're not making stuff up. Let's go to Golden State, and I'm gonna do two things. One, I'm gonna put Curry on and Draymond off. I'm guessing Nelson Cruz just homered from the yelling in the other room. My girl, Minnesota Twins fan. I don't know if you guys caught that, but yeah. So offensive rating for the Warriors with Steph Curry on the court, Draymond off. 106.7 points per 100 possessions, 331 minutes of sample size. So keep that in mind considering they got blown out. Now we go ahead and put Draymond and Steph on. And just kind of see what that does from a team standpoint. So it looks like it's going to raise that to 109.7. So yeah, they get a little bit better. I guess I should have looked at or 150. So they get a whole lot better, 115. And then that defensive rating, 109.7, which is atrocious either which way. So I'm not going to get too caught up in that. Over 1,000 minutes sample size this season with these two guys on the court together. Steph Curry over a fantasy point per minute, 1.2 fantasy point per minute, and Draymond has a 36% assist rate. So I guess if we wanted to play Curry here, maybe we parlay it with a little share of Draymond at 6,700. Hopefully he plays and it's not like after lock we realize he's not on the court and he's sick or something. But I think that's the wild card in this game being more competitive. Obviously, we all kind of have the Bucks being outclassing the Warriors here, but I'm just hoping to stay within 20 into the fourth quarter and give Curry a chance at 35 minutes and 50 plus fantasy points, right? Anything else we got on this one? Nope. All right, we got one game left on the docket. Take a pause for the cause. Remind you guys, if you guys want to hang out with me after the party, it's the after party, and after the party, it's the Discord lobby. I'll be in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP voice chat up in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. If you guys want access to this one, go to RunDFS.com, get yourself a VIP subscription. There will be a link to the NBA spreadsheet, baseball spreadsheet, and the Discord. You pop open this Discord. We do dueling voice chats now. Probably it will be in the NBA chat, but if you guys have baseball questions, NBA questions, we're going to be in there chopping it up, making our player pools. In the spreadsheets, I have player projections for FanDuel DraftKings Yahoo. We have the tab that help you out with PrizePicks, and then I'll be dressing up my own personal player pools on both FanDuel and DraftKings. If you guys want to compare your pools to mine or tail mine or even say Gun's an idiot, I'm doing the exact opposite. Like yesterday I played Boban. I'm going to not play Boban. Yeah, last night would have been good for you. But if you guys are curious, I have that. I also have this, something very similar to this for baseball as well. So if you guys are looking to join a community of like-minded DFS grinders, I definitely think we have one for you. And if you guys want to get it for free, PrizePicks.com. Sign up using code GUNDACKER. If you make a qualifying deposit, I think $10, you'll get double your initial deposit up to $100. So $10 is 20. If you drop a 50 spot on them, it becomes $100. Go out there and make some player prop parlays. Let me know on Twitter. Twitter.com/Gundecker. DMs are open. Let me know, hey, I signed up, and next morning I'll be looking for your name. And as soon as I can verify it on the list from them, you'll get yourself a free week of RunDFS.com VIP access, and if you're already an existing subscriber, we'll add on another week for you, man. I think that's a really good deal. I definitely do. It's a good way to support the stream, support the site, and get a little something in return, and diversify your daily DFS spend. I definitely think PrizePicks is a great way to give you another avenue, another vehicle to reward your day-to-day research, right? Josh says, when Nico and Poole started playing defense, rating took a huge drop. Yeah. I don't think they're overly equipped to be a super ridiculous defense anyway. I mean, Wiggins, Draymond, Jury's kind of output. Like, it's the Bucks. Bucks are just ridiculous. So, I think that game really comes down to, do you think it stays close? Last game on the docket, Portland Trailblazers at the Los Angeles Clippers. Project starting five for the Blazers: Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and they hate us because they ain't us, Cantor, taking on Reggie Jackson, maybe Pat Bev, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, Ivica Zubac. 229 is our total, 5.5 point spread. Favorite of the home team, Los Angeles Clippers. Fun couple of games here to close the night. Enes Kanter drawing the start again in the absence of Yusuf Nurkic, taking the night off, I think, for injury management, and Kanter has enjoyed a reduction in price, but something to note on Kanter, it's not like he's almost been better off the bench for the Blazers lately. 30 minutes against OKC, dropped 43 against his old team, 27 against Detroit. We saw a 40 bomb against Orlando the other night. So if we can get him back to 30 minutes, long term, Kanter's been a point per minute kind of guy. So I definitely have him as a Stockton stuff for tier 2, probably as a center in my player pool tonight. And then without Nurkic, I'm right back there in the mix on Damian Lillard, 9-2, 9-4. We can see 50 plus fantasy points there, but 45. I think he's an interesting 1v1 versus Curry. Seems like Curry might get the ownership, just guessing, because Lillard does have to contend with McCollum and Powell. Like, there's many different scenarios to keep this game close. With the Warriors, it feels like only Steph Curry is the way that game stays close. So I definitely think Steph Curry gets the ownership there, which makes the idea of Damian Lillard being a little bit more game theory, a little bit more leveragey, and perhaps a unique way to approach a late slate or something like that. CJ McCollum, Norman Powell definitely right there in the mix as well. Norman Powell pretty cheap on both sides, and CJ McCollum, if I can get to 40 plus fantasy points, I'm a buyer on that. On the Clipper side, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, both in the mix. If you get these guys in two spots where you can get them at 35 minutes apiece, you can definitely throw a blanket over maybe 100 plus fantasy points. So no reason to not have them in my pool. The only downside there is not really quantifiable. It's the fact that it seems like so often one of these guys is getting rolled out after lock with dizziness or what have you. So it has been burned, and there's no escaping, right? If that happens, that is the last game, and you can only do so much to swap to so much. So, but that's not really something we can quantify. 8-1 on DraftKings for Paul George. I got him at 40 plus fantasy points. The Blazers coming into this game as a bottom 4 defense in basketball. I think they might actually be bottom 3. Let me double check that in the team metrics chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. Portland is second worst defensive rating in the league. So they're coming in as the second worst defense. Yeah, Paul George can eat at 8,100, and then Kawhi Leonard chipping a chair for 50 fantasy points himself. Keep an eye on Patrick Beverley and Cousins availability for this one. I'll go check out the injury news and notes from the depth chart that I'm looking at here over on Sports Edge. Los Angeles Clippers. All right, we'll start with Patrick Beverley. He's missed quite a chunk of time. He is listed as questionable with a knee. He's been upgraded to questionable. He hasn't played since March 11th, and the return would probably impact Reggie Jackson. Not really looking at Reggie too much anyway. And then DeMarcus Boogie Cousins is not listed on the injury report. He might be ready to play and make his Clippers debut tonight, but your guess is as good as mine on how many minutes he might be available to play. So that might soften the projection there for Ivica Zubac. And then Boogie, what is Boogie's price? Is this one of those maybe showdown slates where we take a shot at Boogie kind of being a ghost? He's 4,500 on FanDuel. Yeah, I can't really put him at like a safe minute projections, but like if you thought that you could beat the field on DeMarcus Cousins making his debut, go for it. But there's nothing right now to suggest that he is debuting or that he would be somebody to play a decent chunk of minutes, because even at Houston as a starter or during that stretch with Houston, he wasn't playing an egregious amount of minutes. So keep an eye on that. That is your main event tonight. If you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in chat, man. It's been a fun day. We did an MLB stream. If you're going to play some baseball tonight, you didn't catch the baseball stream. I did do a baseball stream breaking down tonight's main game slate for FanDuel and DraftKings. So if you want my spins from that, that is on the channel as well. I always appreciate the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It costs you $0, and it shows a little bit of love and support without opening your wallet, right? What's up, Charlie? You doing all right, bro? Lorenza, hey, where's my free week? From PrizePicks? Did you actually? When did you sign up? Was it yesterday? If you didn't sign up, if it was part of the month pass giveaway, That's it's a different bracket. I don't know. Come on, man. PJ Lillard beef. I want in. I'm with that. And the Beverly, right? The island stuff. Reggie Jackson's going off tonight. Maybe, but keep an eye on Patrick Beverly. If Beverly plays and he plays as little as 10, 15 minutes, that's enough to like annoy everything. Right now I got Beverly in for 20, Reggie Jackson for 18. Like that's enough that I don't want any of these guards. Terrence Mann, Rajon Rondo. Like it gets ugly. So I'm really just leaning on Kawhi and Paul George the most. And the rest, whatever happens and shakes out, like everything. I got 11 guys potentially playing in the rotation. 10 guys for sure. Not for sure, but 10 guys. Who knows what Boogie's going to do. Yeah, I know. Twitter.com/Gundacker. DMs are open if you guys got anything else for me. Otherwise, I'm going to be in that RunDFS.com Discord up until lock. I got dual duty going on tonight. We got baseball. We got basketball. So I'm going to try to have all the player pools set up so you guys can kind of get an idea where I'm at, and then hopefully we won't get too much news on the NBA side of things, and we'll be able to have ourselves a profitable night. What's tomorrow's schedule looking like? Tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Yeah, so we'll have more content on this channel tomorrow. Did I type schedule? Yeah, tomorrow. Boom, 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 boom. Man, not gonna lie, I knocked this slate out in an hour. Do I need Raj? You know? Do I need Raj? I don't know. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games on the docket tomorrow, so we'll aim for another 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central stream. Wizards, Magic, T-Wolves. Any notable back-to-back teams tonight? So the Nuggets play tomorrow. So yeah, if you can get Murray off his feet tonight against the lowly Pistons on a back-to-back, I probably do that, and I prepare for the Spurs game. And then anything else notable? The Hawks are on a back-to-back. Celtics play tomorrow, but tonight's the priority primetime game against a team that, well, I guess you could see the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Crazy world we live in, right? Need a good pitcher for the early game? Probably Max Scherzer. I know, crazy. Appreciate you guys hanging out, man. I appreciate you guys, as always, making part of my day, be part of your day. Before you get out of here, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up. Hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/Gundacker, man. Hope you guys crush it tonight, win all the money. Save some for me, but I hope you win all the money, most of the money. Not all the money. I want some of the money, but you know how we do it. I'll be back tomorrow with some more baseball coverage and another NBA stream. Maybe we'll have a co-host, but 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central is the goal. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. Good luck, God bless, and go win some money.